Okay, I think we can begin. So hi everyone, thank you for joining us and welcome to today's webinar, which we've called The Leader in You. So today's webinar is going to be around 45 minutes to 1 hour. It will be recorded today, so if you need to drop out for another meeting, by all means do so, and we'll share the recording with you via email post-event today. So how this event's going to run, we're going to start with a couple of introductions from our fantastic panel. I've got a group of very interesting individuals joining me today. That will then be followed by a 20-minute presentation from Dr. Courtney Owens, who is a senior lecturer in Organisational Psychology at Manchester Business School. Courtney's going to be exploring the concept of the incomplete leader and what good leadership looks like in today's kind of changing and sometimes quite volatile world. Following that, I will then give a very brief overview of our 5-day accelerated leadership programme, the Manchester Leadership Development Programme, which is delivered over 5 days at Alliance Manchester Business School. And finally, probably one of the most exciting things happening over the next hour, we'll then finalise with a panel discussion with 3 of our past delegates. So 3 of our past delegates who studied on the Manchester Leadership Development Programme a couple of months ago. So they're going to be sharing their experiences of what it was like to study on this programme. Hopefully that will give you a really nice insight into, what you could expect should you choose to join us in our next intake. Before we go into some introductions from the panel and myself, I do want to make this session quite interactive. So for those of you listening live today, if you could kind of, share your questions throughout with us, we'll aim to address those at the very end of the session. But initially, if you could put in the chat, where you're tuning in from, so what part of the world you're tuning in from, and what your job title is, and also what interests you about leadership. We like to get to know our audience as you get to know us as well. So please do feel free to, interact with us today. I'm going to start with an introduction to myself, and then I'll hand it over to our panel. So my name is Daisy James. Some of you may have had conversations with me already, but I am the Client Relations Manager for our suite of short business courses at Executive Education in Alliance Manchester Business School. So my role has 2 parts to it, really. So I work with individual professionals, I guide them through what courses we have available and what would really benefit them as a professional in their kind of career development. But I also work with heads of HR, learning and development and talent in organisations here in the UK, but globally as well, to identify a course or group of courses that will really help them develop their teams and also retain good people in their organisation. I worked closely with Courtney Owens, who is joining me today. So Courtney, I'm going to hand it over to you to say a little hello and introduce yourself.
Sure. Thanks, Daisy. Hi, everyone. My name is Courtney Owens. I'm originally from the States, but I came to Manchester to do a PhD and got offered a job as a lecturer, so I stayed. I teach and do research primarily around personality traits, and I'm really thrilled to be able to apply that learning to the world of work and particularly leadership. So I teach and do research in the area of personality traits and leadership, and we'll talk a little bit about traits and characteristics today and what that means for leadership.
Thank you, Courtney. Myrna, I'll come to you next.
Thank you very much. Mirna Milanovic-Lalic. I'm, as you mentioned, one of the past attendees, very much enjoyed it. I am a lawyer, currently managing practice in Bosnia and Herzegovina, but have been educated in the US. So the international setting was just something that was very appealing to me.
Thank you, Myrna. Zishan, I'll come to you next.
Yes, my name is Zishan. I'm a mechanical engineer by profession, and I'm currently working as a head of plant for a 50-megawatt wind power plant based in Pakistan. And yes, I also attended the course with Mirana, and it was a very nice, wholesome experience. And it really helped me further in this current position.
Thanks, Zishan. Finally, Dapo, I'll come to you.
Yeah, good morning, depending on where you are on the divide. My name is Dapo Kiwole, currently the Chief Financial Officer of an oil and gas company here in Lagos, Nigeria. I attended the development course program, Manchester, way back in February. And ever since, I've become an addict learner, based on what we were taught at the seminar. It was a good time, and the program is something that I've recommended to quite a number of people. I'm an accountant by profession and a studious worker, I will say. Actually somewhere holding meetings throughout the day, but I had to create time to be here today just to encourage people. This is one of the very best programs I've ever attended. I've attended several business schools, London Business School. I've done programs with them, London School of Economics. I've done in the States as well. I schooled here in the UK as well, all over, Dubai and the rest. But to be honest with you, this course is great, and it's something that I will always recommend to anyone. While we start this deliberation, I just hope the upcoming participants will listen and will be convinced that they need to be at this program today. Thank you.
Thank you, Dapo. You did my recruitment spiel for me there, so thank you very much. I'm delighted to hear you enjoyed it, and to all three of you, you joined us a couple of months ago. I'm really looking forward to kind of hearing more about your experiences in a little while. Courtney, I'm going to hand it over to you now. Obviously, I talked a little bit about what you're going to present. It's all about the incomplete leader. I'm really excited to actually listen to you for the next 20 minutes. So if it's okay with you, I'll hand it over, and there we go.
Great. Thank you, Daisy. Right. So the incomplete leader. This is a concept we do touch on during the Manchester Leadership Development Program, and we explore it more fully there. But it's worthy of an introduction here and just something to be thinking about. I think particularly in today's work world, this is a concept that really applies. And so the idea is, what does it mean to be incomplete? Is that okay to say we're incomplete? Incomplete is a different word from incompetent. We don't want to say we're being incompetent leaders, but we want to recognize that maybe it's okay to be incomplete. What are the implications of that? And why might that be a good thing? So let's get into it with the first slide here. So there's a concept in the 90s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s about being a hero leader. And it's very much this idea of the person who swoops in and saves the day, right? They're the perfect person for the job. They've got the perfect characteristics, the perfect experience, the perfect personality traits. They can do this exact thing that we need. And so there was very much a search in research at the time for the certain traits that we need for a perfect person, for the perfect industry, and really seeking for that one perfect person who can come in and save the day when we're in trouble. Now, the problem with that, in today's world, we've gone more now into this environment that's very uncertain, ambiguous, complex. Before COVID, I used to have to argue a little bit that we actually lived in a VUCA world, VUCA standing for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. But now post-COVID and plus all the other global geopolitical climate issues, everything that's going on, it's quite easy to agree that our world is quite volatile, complex, uncertain. We can't predict. We could try and try, but we just can't. You can't know. You can't foresee everything. So unfortunately, this concept of a hero leader just doesn't work anymore in today's environment. That it's just not the answer for today's world. It's too complex. It's too uncertain. We don't know. So there's no one perfect person that we can slot in to answer. There is no one hero leader. So if there's no hero leader, it's the death of the era of the death of the hero leader. Then what is the answer? So the answer is the incomplete leader concept. And today's kind of world, today's environment it's the person who recognizes that they're incomplete that's going to be successful in today's world. So there's a great article that came out by Deborah Ancona and her colleagues. It was published in 2007. She's based in MIT in the States at the Sloan Management School. Her article is what spurred this idea of the incomplete leader, and her model is what we'll be looking at today. So in her article, she says this: it's time to end the myth of the complete leader, the flawless person at the top who's got it all figured out. Only when leaders come to see themselves as incomplete, as having both strengths and weaknesses, will we be able to make up for their missing skills by relying on others. So the idea being here that there is no complete leader, there's no perfect person, that's a myth. It's not going to work anymore in today's world. So we want to recognize that we have strengths, we want to play to our strengths, but we also have weaknesses. Things move so fast and change so fast. While we might be perfect for a time, things move quickly on, and now something about our characteristics, there's a gap in what's needed in the leadership. So we want to recognize what our strengths are, but also what our weaknesses are. And then the answer is, if we identify our gaps and our weaknesses, we can make up for those by relying on others around us and empowering those around us. So that's the key concept that we're going to explore. So the way to measure this, she came up with a tool and a way to kind of measure what does it mean to be complete or incomplete. And through their research, they had identified 4 leadership capabilities that are particularly important for your leadership team. It's been termed the Sloan leadership model because it came out of the Sloan Business School at MIT. And there's 4 different concepts that are important for your leadership team. First, of course, visioning, that act of creating that future. This is where we want to go. This is where we want to be. It's a quite well-known strategic initiative for somebody or a team to be creating that vision. So that idea of where we want to go. That's one capability. The second one being inventing. And this is more of the strategy. How are we going to get to that vision? How are we going to develop new ways to get there? That we're here today, but we want to be there, which means there's a gap. And what are we going to change to get there? So these are often 2 different people. There might be someone who's really good at visioning, but they don't know all the steps that needs to take, all the detail that needs to be changed to get there. So sometimes it's a different person who comes in and says, okay, that's a great vision. Here's how we're going to do it. Sense making and relating are the next 2, and these are enabling capabilities. So sense making is someone who's really good at understanding the context, the current situation, making sense of this context in which we operate, and then relating, very much that idea of networking, relating with others, whether it's internal to the organization or external to the organization, just building those relationships so that things can get done, right? There's a very much of a relational component. So all 4 of these characteristics are important to having a complete leadership team. So what we're going to do is a little bit of a self-test. If you want to grab a pen and pencil or just make some notes on your phone, we're going to create a score. We're not going to share it unless you want to, but the idea here is just to sort of do a little self-test on where you fall on these 4 different capabilities. So here's the first one, was visioning, right? The idea of being able to create that vision, not only this is where I want to go, but be able to communicate to others, that they understand it's a compelling idea. I want to go there too. So being able to communicate it well, using stories, metaphors, a variety of ways to articulate what that picture looks like. So if it's compelling enough and you can describe it well enough, others want to go there too. And then they can help generate those ideas on how to get there, that implementing part, that inventing part. But just this one aspect, envisioning, let's measure it in ourselves. So here's our scale, from a scale of 0 to 5 in your current position. So this isn't like how good you are. What I'm measuring here is how often and how frequently you do this in your current position. So how often do you think you do this? I never do this in my current position. I always do this, a score of 5. Just make a note to yourself somewhere on that scale, 0 to 5, on how frequently you perform this capability. Okay, all right, let's do the next one. So inventing, so this one's opposite, the second action-oriented capability. The idea of being able to come up with that detail. Somebody, whether it's you or somebody else, has this vision on how to get there, but you can be able to create those steps that take you from your current place to what that future place is gonna look like. So it requires attention to detail, some levels of creativity to come up with new ways of thinking, new processes, new procedures, putting it into practice, these new ways of interacting, of organizing. Is it changing structures? Is it changing processes? What needs to happen to make that vision a reality? So it's very much about that detail, day-to-day issues, making that change from your current space to the new one. So again, on a scale of 0 to 5, rate yourself. So in your current job, how frequently do you think that you're doing inventing types of activities? So you can make a note to yourself on that one. All right, sense making is the next one. So this is making sense of the context in which we're operating. So being able to look around and see around yourself the complexities of the current situation. And this means that you're able to embrace and engage other opinions that might be different from your own, that you don't shy away from that, but you approach it and you seek it out and you want to find out different perspectives. How do you see this differently? I see it this way. How do you see it? Because two people can look at the same set of data and come up with two different answers, right? Some people look at today's stock market and say, this is a great time to invest. Some people say this is a really bad time to invest. So same set of data, two different interpretations. So somebody who is really good at sense making seeks out those different opinions, multiple different sources of data from people, from objective data, from subjective data, and really digs in to making sense of the current environment. So whether that's a complex situation at work, or seeing who your competitors are and what the marketing landscape looks like, whatever your situation is, just making sense of that complexity and being able to communicate to others. Okay, I've sorted it all out. This is what it looks like where we are today. So again, scale of 0 to 5, make a note to yourself. How often, how frequently do you perform this kind of sense-making activity? All right, and then the last one, relating. So this is very much what it sounds like, the idea of relating to others, and is undergirded by building trust. So really being able to build trust with others, showing concern for others as people, not just as assets and useful tools to get the job done, but recognizing that they're a person and being able to build those relationships. These people often look like a good role model, people that we look up to, and we want to do something similar to how they're able to engage with people. They create these supportive environments so that others do well. It's not just all about them doing well, but others around them performing well, enabling others for them to succeed in the organization. So again, let's rate ourselves on a scale of 0 to 5. How frequently do you feel you perform this capability? Okay, so kind of wrap up the idea here. And the idea now being, when you go back and you look over your scores, you probably have a range of scores from 0 to 5. We rarely or never see anyone who has all 5s. If you're being honest with yourself, you're not going to have all 5s. So there's something that you don't do as frequently, you don't do as often. So why is that? So the idea of exploring why is that not happening? Is it just you don't have the time, or is it something where personally your characteristics, it's just not comfortable for you? your own strengths don't lend well to that particular capability. So it's recognizing, okay, that's okay. It's okay to be incomplete. It's okay to not be perfect on everything. So what do you do about that? You seek out others who are really good at that thing that's challenging for you, or you just don't have the time to do that frequently. And by finding others and empowering others to do those things that you are weaker in or you find more challenging, that builds your team around you, empowers people around you, and together you can be a complete team. No one person can do it all in today's world. So finding others, seeking out others, and raising them up to compensate for your weaknesses is the idea of the incomplete leader. And that's it, Daisy. So I'll hand that over back to you.
Courtney, I love listening to you, and that was so interesting. You always get us thinking every time. Now I'm sat there with my numbers in front of me thinking, okay, it's actually all right to have a few mismatched numbers there.
That's right. That's right.
I didn't actually give myself a 5, so I gave myself, you know, in the middle. But that was great, Courtney. Thank you so much for that. And I can see a couple of smiles on my screen, so I'm sure our audience enjoyed it just as much as me. Brilliant. So on to the next part of today's presentation before we go into a bit of a Q&A. Just wanted to give you a bit of, you know, top level information about the Manchester Leadership Development Programme, which is a course I hope a lot of you are here about today and are interested in. It's obviously a course Courtney teaches on along with the rest of her fantastic team. And it's a course that my lovely panelists have actually completed a couple of months ago. So I know they'll give you a little bit more detail in the Q&A, but just some top level key information for you before we go into that Q&A. So it's a 5-day programme. So it's a short, sweet, but very impactful programme. It's delivered in person in our Executive Education Centre, which is just opposite Alliance Manchester Business School. Over the 5 days, you explore 5 key modules that are key to business success. So I'll talk you through them and then kind of go into a bit more detail as to what else is on offer. So the first module on day 1, Leadership in Practice, which is Courtney's module. She teaches on this one. So it's all about you as a leader. So before you can begin to successfully lead others, you need to really understand yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, your blind spots, touching on a little bit about what Courtney said earlier. Prior to joining the 5 days, I do want to just highlight on day 1, before you come onto campus, you will be asked to complete a Hogan psychometric assessment, which you'll then use and analyse and delve into in day 1 with Courtney's support. So you'll be asked to do that kind of a week or 2 before, and then you'll use that to kind of analyse yourself and have a bit of, you know, a really good discussion with the group on day 1. Day 2 is leading teams and talent. So it's all about how you lead others. It's all about how you motivate, influence your team, and how to lead a successful and high-performing team. Day 3 is finance for management. Now, a lot of people who don't deal with numbers ordinarily in their role freak out about this day, but they end up at the end of it really enjoying day 3 out of the 5 days. So it's all about, you know, enabling you to kind of join in the financial conversation, be confident using numbers to your advantage, and kind of, you know, using them quite confidently in the boardroom and kind of presenting them in a way that you feel proud almost, particularly if finance isn't your background. Day 4, strategy and innovation. So these two come hand in hand. So you'll leave day 4 being able to think more strategically about choice and really start to kind of promote innovation in your day-to-day roles, whatever that may be. Day 5, the final day, is project management. So what you'll learn in this day is the full life cycle of project, how to kind of successfully lead on a project. So you'll look at how to plan, execute, and close a project successfully. So that's kind of, you know, very top level stuff about what you can expect in the 5 days. We pack a lot into those 5 days, but, you know, you'll leave those 5 days with a huge amount of knowledge to go and make a real impact in your role the following week. So there's different options with the Manchester Leadership Development Programme. So you can choose to select the 5 days and the 5 days only, which is absolutely fine. But you can also select to do an ILM award. So what will happen then is you'll complete an assessment. So it's 2,500 words post-program. It's not a huge amount of words when you break it down to the introduction, the conclusion, and that bit in the middle. But once you've done that, and you'll kind of write about a real work example, so you can bring it back to kind of your manager and teams, you'll then come out with an ILM Level 7 recognised award. So it's a really kind of quick win here. We're not asking a huge amount from you, but you'll see the benefits in your kind of development going forward. So you can choose to add that on to the 5 days. You can also choose to complete or undertake coaching sessions. So post-program, you'll have 3 one-to-one coaching sessions with a qualified leadership coach. So what you'll do is delve that little bit more into what came out in your Hogan psychometric and what you learn in the 5 days with Courtney, her team, and Alliance Manchester Business School. So you go in that little bit further about kind of progressing as a leader, because you've got that access to a professional coach to support you in furthering your development. The next intake, so we run this course 3 times per year at Alliance Manchester Business School. We run it in February, which is what the guys on the call did, in July and October. So we've got 2 upcoming in 2023, July and October. Now we're very nearly at capacity for July, which is brilliant. I'm so happy about that. So if you are looking, to start your journey sooner rather than later, give me a ring in the next week or so, and I'll do my very best to get you onto the course in July. If you're happy to wait, then we're actively recruiting for October, and we've got places available. So have a think. My details will be shared at the end of the webinar, and you can give me a quick call, and we can, discuss together the best option for you. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an insight into MLDP, Manchester Leadership Development Programme. I'm going to kind of stop talking. I'm going to start asking questions to our fantastic panel now. So I will just unshare my screen so we can see everyone's faces, and then we will crack on. Here we go. So where to start? So Myrna, I think I'm going to come to you because you're top right of my screen. You talked a little bit about your job title when we did those introductions, but can you tell our live audience, a little bit about what you do and your background?
So my background is in law, and what I do is I manage a law firm. It's a pretty specific profession where, you not only have to manage the cases and be accountable for what the clients have confirmed to you, but you also have to find a way to work in teams and manage younger colleagues, colleagues with different backgrounds, requests from different jurisdictions. So I was looking to attend a course that would actually give me things that I can use in practice that are not necessarily related to legal continuing education, so the substantive part of it. And I really managed to get that in the Manchester Leadership Program, because it gave me a little bit of the strategic and project management understanding of how to apply that to my daily work, and especially the financial part. The day where we discuss finance, where I actually had very little knowledge of, to be able to understand how, the human, the professional, the financial part, all of it comes together, and how to apply that to specific cases that I manage.
Thank you, Myrna. I remember talking to you way back when I remember you deciding about what course should I do, is this the right one? And it just, when you were speaking, then flashed me back to that point. So it's great that you're here now to share your experience. So
yes, and I think, the teachers, the professors were wonderful. The presentations were interesting. They were useful. But what was I think also really, really important to me was that I was surrounded with people from different backgrounds, and we together worked on solving different tasks and assignments, and I learned from them as well. So it was sort of a double win for me.
Thanks, Myrna. Dapper, I'm going to come to you. So tell us a little bit about your background and kind of your current role.
Yeah, I'm an accountant, professional qualified accountant, both in the UK and in Nigeria. Currently, I'm the Chief Financial Officer, like I said in my introduction, of an oil and gas company. So basically, I manage the finances of the company and the accounting side of it as well, including taxes. So I've got like a dual role, kind of. I have like 12 people reporting to me as the CFO. But at the same time, I report to the board, and of course to the executive chairman. So while I manage so many people, I still have someone who I have to report to, basically on the happenings. And the current situation of things has made the traditional financing or accounting role a little bit different. Prior to now, all what you had as an accountant to do was just to present numbers. But this current situation means you have to go beyond that. Not only numbers, you have to understand, what are those things behind the numbers, especially working in an industry that I'm in, oil and gas. I have to work with engineers, geologists, and putting the numbers, just down doesn't really make sense until you understand what they do, So that was one of the reasons why, I stumbled on the course and I felt, okay, well, this will probably provide me, something more than I need. And of course, we have so many young guys that work with me, report to me. So ideally, what I was looking for when I was going for the course was the side of managing team and talent. But interestingly for me, at the end of the day, the very first day, that's the leadership in practice, which coincidentally was handled by Courtney here, was the most that I benefited from. And I'm still, working on at the moment, because it practically opened my eyes to see that I need to work on myself, quite a lot, so that I can get things done. And, ever since, to be honest with you, I became conscious of many things that I never used to, trying to understand myself, trying to understand my perspective and viewing it from the perspective of others. And that has helped me quite a lot, immensely, I would say. And of course, as an accountant, you would think the part managed by Nigel, that's the finance part, wouldn't make much meaning to me. But I tell you, after the organ assessment, the most one that has had profound impact on me was one of the statements made by Nigel. I remember him saying something that many times those things you look at daily, you see daily, but you never think about, are very critical. And that's, I held on to. And I realized, many things you overlook or you think you are familiar with, those are the things that you actually should pay attention, to. And that has worked, very well for me, Like I mentioned earlier, for the participants, coming, I think you don't have it better than to join this course. If you remember, I would have probably been joining now, July, but I insisted on joining the February, because I just wanted something to start the year with, because I was looking out for leading teams, managing teams, not knowing that there will be something much more greater than that for me. So I really, thank my stars, joining the February, cohort, and, here I am, still willing, at any point in time to participate and encourage others to join. Thank you.
Thank you, Dapo. And I do remember you were going to join in July and then we got you into Feb. So I'm very pleased we were able to do that for you. And I think you're right. You obviously mentioned about, sometimes you do overlook a lot of things in your day-to-day roles. You don't really look at yourself. You don't really take a step back. And, 5 days isn't a huge amount of time, but it really allows you to take a step back and kind of review yourself as a leader, review what you've been doing and how you can kind of move things forward and improve. So I think it's a really good course for that. And obviously, to your point before, obviously you're networking and meeting a huge amount of people from diverse parts of the world, from incredible backgrounds, and that allows you to see new perspectives and bring them back. And you wouldn't get that if you were, in your day-to-day role for that 5 days. So thank you, Dapo. Zishan, I'm going to come to you now. So tell us a little bit about what you do and kind of your background.
So I'm a mechanical engineer by profession. So I started my career back in 2005 with this company, Fuji Fertilizer. It's the largest fertilizer manufacturer in Pakistan. And for the last all my career, I was part of the project development team. So we used to develop projects and feasibility. That was my main background in my professional career. So the last year, I was being asked to just get ahead and had the operations and maintenance of over 50 megawatt wind power plant. So that was a totally different job role. So from being the desktop engineer, doing the numbers and crunching things, feasibility reports, reporting for management, it was a totally different landscape. So I have to manage like a team of 50 persons. So we do operations and maintenance of our plant ourselves. We have operations guy, maintenance, and then we have to manage the security and administration of over 1,200 acres of the land. So it was a big team. And before going into that, I was asked to just have a training, things like that for leadership, because it is to manage multiple teams. So it was a different role. So I went for quite a few programs because I was given a budget as well that, okay, do that, but within this limitation. And I came across very different diverse courses from different universities. And what I found interesting about this MLDP, that it had a very good value for money as well. The course contents were very elaborate, modular, and then you have the options to choose. And I'm very glad that I have selected the complete set for including the coaching and the ILM. And I also advise everyone that if you are participating or trying to attend this course, attend the complete course. Not that the Daisy has asked me to advertise it, but that is what I have found, because what I have learned from that course, these two sessions, the coaching and the ILM, these two modules, I think these are very perfectly integrated into this course, because the two things which I took is the most interesting part for me, because everyone knows who they are. But this organ assessment, this actually make it official that, okay, these are your traits, this is your exact personality, and 99%, I would say, the accurate one. And then it tells you how to accept yourself as an incomplete leader, find people which have the strengths in those areas where you are weak, and so that make our team. And that is what I am trying to apply now, and it has actually given me a boost, or it has a lot of impact, that now I'm very relaxed that, okay, Courtney has done the complete study and it's okay to be incomplete. That's my take on it. This is the most profound thing. And then this coaching session, this is also helping me to just accept my weaknesses and work on my strengths. And this ILMS assessment, Peter, this course is also very advantageous in this, that you can apply project based on your study. And I'm currently doing that. Mike has assisted me a lot in choosing that course, so that your course, what you are being taught, you are able to apply it practically. And last but not the least, the team in ILM, for this ILM course, they are always approaching you, always very helpful. And I have done other courses, but the way the MLDP program assistants had approached you and informed you about and this session as well is an example of it, that they tell you what exactly they are offering and how impactful this is. So this is all very wonderful. So I think that's all from my side for the time being.
Thank you very much, Zishan. That was great. And I promise to our live audience, I'm not paying our panelists to say these things. I promise. Zishan, thank you very much for that insight. And I'm delighted you've enjoyed some of the coaching and obviously doing the assessment. That's great to hear. Courtney, I'm going to come to you. I'm not going to get you to introduce yourself because you did a great job of that at the beginning. But what I'd like you to kind of, tell us a little bit about from your expertise is, how has the leadership landscape changed over the last few years? And what, I know we talked about this earlier, but what does good leadership look like?
Yeah, so, even post-COVID, so there's loads of research happening now on much more into remote working from home. We already knew we were in a global work environment and managing relationships remotely. But when COVID hit and lockdown hit, to realize that we also have to manage our internal relationships remotely. So this idea of how to manage well in this kind of remote and extended environment has very much come more into the interest. How do we do this? How do we do this well? What does it look like to do this well? And I think a lot of that comes down to the relational aspect. So if those 4 capabilities that we spoke about, the relational one, it's just raising the awareness on how important that is. Because in our face-to-face world, it's easy to bump into someone at the coffee machine or in the hall and have those little chats about the weekend or the puppy dog or, these little things about home life. And that is really hard to imitate in a long distance, non-face-to-face kind of world. But relationships are so important to building trust, to getting work done. So how do we do this well in an online environment, whether it's with people here or with people, outside your organization? So there's a lot of talk about that. And I think it's just, it's an important capability. Some people still are really good at doing it. So they're sort of just raising that awareness. Am I good at this? Am I not? Am I doing it frequently? Maybe I need to do it more intentionally. Maybe I need to find someone on my team who's just naturally really good at it and either learn from them or empower them to do more of it. So just recognizing maybe the importance of that and how to do more of it and do it well.
Thank you, Courtney. And I know there's talk about the 4-day week. A lot of companies have trialed that 4-day week now, haven't they? Whether that'll be implemented everywhere, I don't think so. But obviously, in the future, leadership will have to shift slightly again if companies are doing that 4-day week. How do you manage that? What are your thoughts to that, Courtney?
Yeah, so that opens the idea of sort of asynchronous management, right? So not only are we talking remote, but now we're also talking, we're not even working at the same time, which again, on a global scale, we're kind of used to with time zones and different weekend schedules and knowing that people are not necessarily going to be in the office at the same hour we are. So I think remote or globally, we were a little more used to that concept, but now it's even coming closer to home. And those work colleagues that we work with, recognizing that they might work slightly different schedules than we do. Yeah. So again, how do you build relationships in that? How do you manage well in that kind of environment? And just the importance of making those relationships an important aspect and making sure that's an active part of how we manage and how we lead.
Thank you, Courtney, and absolutely. Myrna, I'll come to you. Sorry, I keep coming to you first, actually. I'm still coming to you. So when you were looking at MLDP way back when you were deciding and weighing up your options, were there any particular elements that really stood out to you or drew you to our program?
Well, yes. I really knew that getting to complete Hogan assessment was important. Some of my colleagues said, yes, we all think we know each other or know each other, but don't really know exactly where we need to be more thoughtful and process and sort of develop a different mindset. So that was really important to me. And then Courtney's explanation of that sort of has given me a tool whenever I'm now making decisions to reflect on where I have to work on myself. So it's not that I literally look at my Hogan results every morning, but once in a while, yes, I do. I look at it. So that is something that I thought was pretty important for me. And then obviously the finance day, where I was sort of able to look at the basics, yet do some exercises with the colleagues that had more knowledge than me. It helped me sort of get that confidence that even though I don't have any formal training in that, I can still sort of manage for the purposes that are important for my job. So these were all the practical things that I was reading about the program that I was sort of driven by to select and to attend.
Thank you, Myrna. That's great. I saw Courtney giving you a little cheer when you mentioned the Hogan. That's brilliant. Thank you. And Dapo, I'll come to you to answer this question. So obviously, when you were weighing up your options, what particularly stood out for you about MLDP that, you know, made you ring me up and book a place?
Yeah, thanks. Like I said earlier, looking at it, I was looking at the leading teams and talent. And of course, you know, went on the website, read through the brochure, you know, fantastic things that were written about it. You know, that was actually the driver, you know, of me joining the program, like I mentioned. And of course, you know, like I said as well, you know, I've attended courses, London Business School, London School of Economics, you know, in the US as well, you know, done quite a lot. So I wanted something different from the usual, you know, and I went through, like I said, the brochure, and so many things stood out. You know, I looked at the experience of, you know, the presenters, you know, what they've done, you know, in past, because I always like a good blend of those who had worked in the private sector than just those who are strictly, you know, in the academia. You know, I could see a good balance, you know, in all the facilitators, you know, so that endeared me to the program, you know, basically. And like I mentioned earlier, I got into the program, you know, looking at the leadership, thinking that's what I would gain from, but I got in and I was shocked and got much more, you know, I would say, you know, so that was brilliant for me.
Thank you, Dapper, and you're absolutely right. We have, you know, the academics and kind of industry speakers we've brought together is that right balance. So you're getting both sides of the coin, really. You're getting academic expertise as well as people who've actually, you know, experienced industry in real life. So we've done that on purpose, really, would you believe? So Zishan, I'm going to come to you. What impact has MLDP had on your current role? Sorry, I've changed it up a little bit. So have you been able to put into practice, you know, what you learned with us over that 5 days into your current role? Can you explain a little bit about that for me?
Yes, definitely. It has a real impact on me, especially in aspect of understanding myself. And further to that, I had like 2 sessions. One is planned after this webinar as well. That has also helped me a lot to understand myself, and the coaching has assisted me that where I have to find right persons or right idea to cover up my weaknesses. So that thing has helped me a lot. And coupled with that is this ILM assessment as well. So whatever I have learned from this 5-day course, I am now practically applying it in my company for a project. So that is also a very interesting aspect, that it will help me, what you can say, to practically apply what I have learned. This rarely happens. Normally we have a short course, 5 days, very busy, and after that it just slowly diminishes out, and you maybe you apply something and sometimes you don't. But this ILM certification, it is helping me to go back to the course contents, go back again, read it, and then apply it what I have learned. So these 2 aspects, this coaching and this ILM certification, this has a good impact on me, coupled with this Hogan assessment. That I think has a, and I urge everyone again that the complete course, this coaching and this ILM certification, it is going to be the real benefit if you want to take full or complete value out of this course.
Thank you, Zishan. Courtney, I'm going to come to you. So I'm conscious of time. I know, obviously, Myrna, Zishan and Dapper are all working. So are you, Courtney, and so am I. I need my lunch, I think. in your opinion, Courtney, what are the 3 benefits to professionals coming on to MLDP, would you say?
Yeah. So for me, leadership capability, as we've all been discussing here, and what we do with the Hogan personality test is really being able to identify where your strengths are, so you can play to those strengths, but then where those gaps are, so you can raise up others and empower others to help address those. So leadership capability is a big one, and that's a nice tool to take away. And then maybe some softer skills like self-awareness. So just recognizing these things about yourself. When you find yourself in this situation and your dark traits begin to emerge, just raising that self-awareness of, okay, I'm beginning to feel this way, but what are the behaviors that I actually want to choose to behave in a certain way? So self-awareness is just a big part of leadership, and that's an ongoing thing. Of just saying, oh, okay, this is a different way. I'd never thought of that before. And then beginning to recognize those things around you. So self-awareness, and we talk a lot about that on my day, but I think it's sprinkled throughout the whole week, really. And then maybe the last one is just a chance to reflect. You know, there's something really special about getting away from your daily environment, coming on campus, being in that university atmosphere, and just having a chance to think and reflect on yourself, on your role, these new tools that you're learning about and how to implement them. It's just a really nice time for some mental space to think that our day jobs are so fast and so furious that we struggle to just find that time to reflect. And so I think there's really some value in being able to take that time and just think and reflect on things.
Thank you, Courtney. Myrna, Zishan, Dapo, I'm coming to you now to kind of wrap us up and close our Q&A. Zishan, I'll come to you. Myrna, I'll put you last this time. So Zishan, what advice, or maybe one piece of advice, do you have for professionals who might be sat there watching this live today thinking about joining MLDP?
So my advice would be, please go ahead, select this course. It would be really interesting. Definitely, and you will learn a lot, and it will really give you a good insight, especially of yourself, and it will also assist you in what Courtney has mentioned, to identify your dark sides, dark traits, and also it will equip you with the tools which you might need to overcome your shortcomings and strengthen your areas where you need improvement. So definitely, please go ahead. I've enjoyed it, the course as well, pre-course as well, course and post-course as well.
Thank you, Zishan. And Dapo, what advice would you give to someone sat there now thinking, is this course for me? Should I go ahead and book my place?
Well, I think without thinking, I will click the accept button, and just submit the application. On a more serious note, the course is a good one. The caliber of people you meet, those you discuss with, opens you up, to many other ideas and views about life. And I would tell you something interesting that I gained from the course, particularly, like I mentioned, the leadership in practice, which had to do with the organ assessment. For my marriage and my home, you won't believe this. I'm telling you the honest truth. That self-awareness of trying to assess yourself, thinking, about yourself first before you even respond, it has helped quite a lot. My son told me, Daddy, something about you is changing. I'm telling you, sometimes because of the busy nature of my job, you get home, your children want to have an attention. You think you are creating attention and trying to, make up with them. But in reality, they could sense, that distance, that you are just answering them, not consciously, So all these little things, I've started inculcating into my daily life, my family life. And, I've become a better husband, I would say, to my wife. But particularly my children, they've noticed that I've changed, I'm deliberate, conscious, about the little time I spend with them. and this actually came from that organ assessment, self-awareness thing, knowing who I am, trying to check myself, before reacting. So, it's made me, I would say, a better man beyond a better leader, a better man across board. So for this course, I would say they should not hesitate to join, Thank you.
Thank you, Dapper, and thank you for that honesty there. That was really nice to hear, and I think it is so true, and I see a few heads nodding, but I really appreciate your honesty there, Dapper. That was lovely. So thank you. Myrna, over to you. What advice would you like to give?
I mean, I completely agree with my colleagues, and I would add that, if you are thinking about it, do it, for yourself. It is going to be very rewarding. It is not going to be just an additional tool in your day-to-day job, but it will give you that new perspective. And it will also be relaxing in a way. Although, the days are hectic, you're all day in the classroom. Well, like Dr. Owens said, you're still on campus, surrounded with younger people with different energy, sort of in the mood to just learn as much as possible and absorb new things, I think, more easily than you would in your everyday surroundings. So it gave me this energy to, do things differently, to look at, at different issues from different angles, and it gave me knowledge. So definitely, I think I did it for myself, and I think I benefited from it greatly, both personally and professionally. So I would say definitely.
Thank you, Myrna, and thank you to you all, and obviously Courtney, thank you as well for presenting and kind of pitching into our Q&A. I really appreciate you taking the time, all of you, and providing some really truthful, honest responses there, which you don't often see in Q&A panel discussions. And I think we really got there today. So thank you to you all. I'm just going to share my screen one last time, and then I'll wrap up. And hopefully we're bang on time today, which is great. So my contact details are now on the screen. So as I mentioned before, I'm Client Relations Manager for this particular program, along with our new suite of short business courses. If you want to have a chat, this week, next week, or in a couple of months' time, my email address is there and my mobile number. I'm really happy to support professionals in making that decision and next move in their career development. We can, really have a one-to-one consultation, delve into your experience and what you want to become in the future. So please do get in touch with me if you have any questions post-events. If you're ready and we've convinced you, hopefully we have, you can scan this QR code and it'll take you straight to the booking form. But it's always good to have a chat with myself and the team before that. So perhaps give me a call and then we can kind of move on to securing your place. I just want to say, again, a huge thank you to our wonderful panelists. I can't do these things on my own. I mean, I can, but it wouldn't be as fun. So thank you so much for joining me and sharing your insights. And thank you to everyone who has listened live. And if you're watching this back on our YouTube channel, then thank you again. And you know where I am if you need any further information. Thank you, everyone, and have a great weekend when it comes.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye now.
Bye.